Get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Oh, would you look at that? It looks like we're about to begin right now. Welcome, everybody, to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How are we all doing today? Are you guys doing good? Are you guys having fun so far? Well, if you are, let me just say the fun is only beginning because now the main course has finally arrived in all the craziness and all the funness that will be in store for you all. Admittedly, I didn't really prepare an intro for all of this. I'm just mostly winging it. But hey, if it works, it works. What can I say? All right, now, for this episode, I just gotta say, we're gonna be doing something that we haven't done in quite a long time, and that is having a big round of trailers. Now, it's actually been quite a while since we've actually had an episode where the grand majority of it is just reviewing trailers and stuff like that. But I figured, you know what, like, I did had a few extra stories prepared, but then again, I decided, you know what, it's better off to just put them on the side, and we're gonna really focus more on all these trailers. Oh, and thank you so much, GornZX, for that subscription. That is definitely great. But already, I do see in the chat wall that people are also bringing up something that did actually happen in the past few days that is very much unfortunate, and that is in regards to all the celebrity deaths. Like, holy crap. It's been pretty overwhelming with the amount of big-name celebrities that have unfortunately passed away, and even some significant animation people are sadly no longer with us. Just to go and have a fresh reminder for myself, I was just looking into the names and then suddenly I forgot about them. I just want to go and quickly mention about these people. Like one of the first animation people that passed away recently was Jared. Oh, did I get... Oh, hold on a sec. I heard a nice little sound. Oh, thank you, Daniel, for that subscription. Very nice there. There is voice actor Jared Barclay, who provided his voice in shows like The Smurfs and Transformers, who is no longer with us. There is also Paul Coker Jr., who is actually the legendary character designer who actually created the signature style of Rankin Bass. It is thanks to his drawings and his art style that created the look of what we know today as Rankin Bass. And probably the biggest death, at least for animation people, has to be legendary actress Pat Carroll, whom you probably know her best as the voice of Ursula. And for me personally, I also knew her from other works as well. She was also amazing. And I would say, like, what could possibly be her most underrated performance has to be Grandma in the Garfield holiday specials, like Garfield Christmas and Garfield Thanksgiving. So may all these animation legends rest in peace. And they have provided such a wonderful legacy for us. And I can guarantee you that they will not be forgotten. What the fridge is with you people suddenly coming in with subscriptions. Thank you so much, Jay Monty. Okay, wow, this is actually a lot of fun. Already the hype is growing bigger and bigger and funny enough, this is supposed to be a time when, like, I'm supposed to, like, be a bit more emotional. I'm mentioning people who are passing away, and suddenly people are coming in like, oh, would you look at the time? Now would be good to go and sub. Let's go and sub more. Hey, but I do like the energy that we got so far, and it sounds like you are all ready. But just in case if you are not, let me go and ask you all, everyone, are you all ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks. I mean, apparently on my Twitch, it says that a hype train is going on. So let's go and continue this hype train. Let me hear it, folks. Are you all ready? And I already see one person is like, sorry, Matt. Don't be sorry. Come on. We're all having fun here. Don't worry about it. Okay, perfect. I see everyone is prepared. That's great to see. And now it is time that we shall go and get things started. And for the first story that I have for you today, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I know that I promised you all that we're going to go into all the trailers and we're going to talk about like all the upcoming stuff, but I want to start off by getting this out of the way. Now, this is an article that has been released a few days ago, and it is actually a very controversial article in which I've seen a lot of massive reactions. I've seen a whole lot of different like thoughts about it, a lot of criticisms, and I thought I would just go and try to share my piece. So let's go ahead and begin by talking about the John Lasseter article, specifically from The Hollywood Reporter, an article called John Lasseter's Second Act. Now, as you guys probably know, just around the corner, it's going to be Skydance Animation's first animated feature that they are going to release on Apple TV Plus called Luck. And with Skydance's big debut, it also marks as the debut of John Lasseter ever since he got kicked out of Disney and Pixar because of the sexual misconducts that he has committed and also the toxic behavior that has stenched up both studios. So from there, to commemorate the release of Luck, the Hollywood Reporter put out this article, and this is also a very significant article in which this marks as the first time ever since John Lasseter got kicked out at Disney where he actually spoke out. This is the first time we actually heard from the guy. Like beforehand, he was like a hermit. He was hiding from all the media. He was hiding himself from the public, like pretty much sheltering himself within the realms of Skydance Animation. And now this is the first time that we have heard about him, and he pretty much is talking about the usual press things, you know, talking positively about his experience at Skydance Animation, as well as talking about hype in regards to working on Luck and even working with director Peggy Holmes. And from there, while it does go a lot into Luck and into the process of creating it, this mainly focuses on John Lasseter and his comeback, pretty much return, like in a way, commemorating this as his grand return. And even the other people at Skydance Animation talked about John Lasseter and his return and how happy they are for working at Skydance and working with John Lasseter. And these people not just include the Luck director Peggy Holmes, but you also have the director of their next movie, which is going to be Spellbound, and that's going to be directed by Vicky Jensen, in which she has a lot of positive things to say about John. There's also the CEO of Skydance, David Ellison, who talks about bringing in John Lasseter and his thought process as to why he brought him in, even after getting immediately kicked out by Disney and Pixar, as well as other people who have been on board, including Brad Bird, whom not too long ago was actually hired by Skydance Animation in order to go and direct a project he had been working on for a very, very long time called Ray Gun. Now, even though there's a lot of people who would go and talk very positively about John Lasseter, there have been a few people that also spoke negatively. Like, they don't always shine a positive light on John, even to this day. Like, one prominent example is actually a director at Cartoon Network. And let me just go and find that little section. Yes, it's right over here, and it's actually from Ashlyn Anstey, who right now is working as a director at Cartoon Network. They even mention in this article, reading from my source here on The Hollywood Reporter, the outrage that greeted Lasseter's hiring has quieted, at least publicly, but some in animation remain skeptical about his return. I'm less angry now, says Ashlyn Anstey, a director at Cartoon Network. It's more letting a so-called creative genius continue to take up positions and space in an industry that could begin to be filled with different people. I wish the leadership above Lasseter would take a look at what they're valuing and what they're willing to take a chance on. There's also another section in which there have been some former employees who talked about their experience with John Lasseter and how it hasn't been going well. And they even mentioned, it's actually in this big part right over here, in which they stated, some former Skydance animation, yes, right over here, I just got a little bit distracted about like what has been said over here, but it's more like more positive things to say about John Lasseter. But anyways, it states here, some former Skydance animation employee says Lasseter's working style is too controlling, however, that he insists on approving minor details and creates a bottleneck in the workflow. He prefers to have scripts read for him, former employees say, and sometimes falls asleep during those readings, only to later criticize the story for plot holes he missed while asleep. He couldn't remember what happened in the last meeting, says one former Skydance employee. Things would change on a whim based on what he thought he remembered. A representative from the studio spoke to several people who were on the alleged Zoom meetings, and those people say they never witnessed Lasseter falling asleep. One employee says after 18-hour days while crashing a deadline for a movie, all of us would zone out. And even adding in the extra element that apparently one of John Lasseter's sons, Bennett Lasseter, is also working at the studio where he was giving notes on some scripts for other different projects. And that's pretty much the best way to go and shortly summarize John Lasseter's second act, or the article over here. And I do recommend for you to go and read it for yourself in order to be informed or to know what I'm going to be talking about. So if you are listening to this in the future, whether it be on your podcast service or on YouTube, you can pause this right now, go read the article, and then you can go and come back to me in regards to looking into this article. But I will say that, okay, before I do begin, I just want to go and make one big clarification that I have always said several times that this was a moment that I've always dread, and it feels like my worries are kind of coming true because of the controversy behind John Lasseter. The thing is that right now, how people feel about John, they either support him or that they do not. And I know that, like, slowly but surely, when the time comes that his return does arrive with movies such as Luck and Spellbound, that the controversy would definitely explode amongst the animation community, and flame wars would just easily go and ignite. In fact, I would not be surprised right now that even if, like, in my chat wall right now, or even, like, in the comments section of whatever, people will be discussing about the return of John Lasseter, and they will be having massive or probably heated debates, rather if he deserves to go and come back, or rather if he does not. Me, I am in the position that while technically, yes, I do agree, he's not like the worst out there. He's not even the worst among the animation industry. He's no John Kay. He's no Vic Mignogna. He is no Chris Savino or anything like that. What he has done, like, it's not as bad as them, but then again, it's still pretty bad. And the fact that John Lasseter did get hired literally just days after getting kicked out of Disney, after he officially left the studio, like, it really feels like a massive dick move, to the point where it really does feel like he never faced any form of consequences to what he has done whatsoever. And from there, it does make me worry that, like, with those kinds of mixed feelings, like, it's gonna be a tough thing to go and really debate, especially amongst, like, animation fans and animators and all that kind of stuff. Like, whenever, like, I know it's one of those things that nowadays, when the subject of John Lasseter is going to come up, it's not gonna be a good time. And when I first read this article, when I first looked into this and fully analyzed it, at first I thought like, okay, well, it looks like it's a little bit fair that they want, like, in a way, I guess you could say that they're pulling the both sides kind of thing, updating people on how John Lasseter is doing at Skydance Animation, but also revealing a little bit in regards to what he's not doing right, and some people are still not okay with him, pretty much highlighting how he is still controversial. However, the more I think about this, and the more that I reread this article and look deeply into the words that they are doing, I'm going to be very honest, there's something off with this article. Like, I can't, like, I guess you could say, in modern terms, this article is highly sus. There's just something about it that maybe it is a lot more biased than at first glance. That there is something about this that really feels like they are going way too deep into the positives of John Lasseter, and in layman's terms, the purpose of this article is to go and uncancel John Lasseter, to put him back in his old position as one of the great kings of animation, one of the true, like, creative visionaries, as the trailer of Luck would go and say about him, or the marketing of Luck, if you will. And the reason why is because of how, the reason why I feel like it really is very biased for John Lasseter, like, one of the big things is how it very much undermines the controversy that happened at both Disney and Pixar. The way that they would go and, like, they would just briefly mention it, but they would not get into it, like, fully whatsoever. It's like they didn't really go into why specifically that he got kicked out. Only, like, just a few brief mentions. And even the way, like, whenever they do bring those up, they also very much undermine it with just little words that just make the people who are against John Lasseter feel pretty petty. Like, one great example, like, even like underneath the big title, like, they mention the, like, apparently the allegations against John Lasseter, they just called it #MeToo complaints. Or when they would go and confront John Lasseter about it, they actually said that John Lasseter just didn't want to talk about it. There was even at one point, I think it was actually in the first section, or there was somewhere that they actually stated that John Lasseter just did not want to go and talk about it. Yeah, I think where was it? Fudge nabbit. I think I don't know. Hold on a sec. I think, like, I do believe I know that they have briefly mentioned that John Lasseter just didn't want to talk about it, but anyways, I'll probably I'll probably go and find it a little bit later. But yeah, basically they didn't want to go and just talk about it. They didn't want to confront it. John, like, the most that they did was like, John, do you want to talk about this? No? Okay. And then there's also another thing that that they would do, or even like actually even when trying to look at it, like, there's also like these little paragraphs right over here, like even on this, like, paragraph especially, like, if you would go and read it here, like, it states, Lasseter is a lion in his field. He directed 1995's groundbreaking Toy Story, propelled Pixar to 2 Best Picture Oscar nominations and $6 billion in domestic box office, and reinvigorated a foundering Walt Disney Animation Studios. But his reign came to an abrupt end when he resigned from Disney in 2018, roughly 6 months after acknowledging what he described as quote-unquote missteps that made some Disney and Pixar staff members feel quote-unquote disrespected or uncomfortable in a 2017 memo to staff. Employees' complaints include unwanted hugging and implicit bias. Yeah, and that's another example. Like, notice that they're using the quotes. Like, and again, that's another tactic that really feels like it's undermining. Like, this article is saying, like, oh, he is a lion in his field. Look at his great achievements. Oh, but, but he got kicked out, because of, like, the little missteps, and that, oh, he's being disrespectful, there is that sense of like there is that sense that they really are trying to like really throw away all the little complaints that have been brought up. And I mean, there's even this one there's even like this one that even said like a little bit of the backlash of bringing in John Lasseter, the fact that you know, there's Marge Dean, the head of organization in women's animation, that she said she was not cool with it. That Emma Thompson, who was supposed to be in luck, decided to quit because she does not support John Lasseter. But then that was pretty much it. The rest, it very much is praise. And also another aspect. Oh, actually, I found it. Okay, there it is. I found the little thing that I wanted to mention. It even says here, okay, David really wanted to build the next great animation studio, says Lasseter in one of his first interviews since his departure from Disney, which he declined to discuss. And they never pressed on from there to actually talk about it. But then there is also the things that are spoken against him. And that's another prominent example of why this article is really undermining the allegations that are said against him. That one thing, like with Ashlyn Anstey, one thing that they tried to do with this one is that they pretty much said right at the beginning that that yes, there are some people in the animation industry that are upset with John Lasseter, but not as much. Like, they actually start off with her quote by saying, "I'm less angry now," to make it look like the people in the animation industry said that it makes it look like, well, some are not really cool with it, but then again, so, you know, like, things are getting a little bit better. You know, they're getting used to it. They've accepted that John Lasseter is back. So again, that's just one thing that they really are undermining. And another one is in regards to the complaints towards John Lasseter, in which it's in regards to the former employees, in which they talked about how John Lasseter like pretty much wants to be spoon-fed everything to him, and that he often sleeps during the meetings and stuff like that. But then immediately at the end, you got the representative that's trying to discredit whatever the former animators are saying. That they're pretty, you know, like, they pretty much decided to give them a little bit of their time to say what they're saying. But then the representative comes in by saying, oh, well, you know, like, maybe what they're saying is not really true, though. Like, they don't really have full-on evidence to what they're saying, so maybe what they're saying is kind of like they're lying. So I don't know. I wouldn't really believe these former animators on what they're saying about John Lasseter. Listen to the people who love John Lasseter. Those are the people who say the truth. And again, it's another element that really is undermining what John Lasseter is doing right now. It really much is undermining people's true feelings about what they have in regards to John Lasseter. However, there is actually one thing that I do find to be very interesting, in which it highlights a massive problem with bringing back John Lasseter. And the thing is that it's actually, where is it? It's actually the quote from Ashlyn Anstey. The fact that she mentioned that one thing is actually very angering is the fact that John Lasseter is still the head of an animation studio, and it kind of prevents the industry to move forward with new people being in charge. And you know what? That actually brings up a very good point, because even if you do look past all the sexual misconducts and the toxic behavior that John Lasseter has spewed out during his time at Disney and Pixar, there is actually another massive problem with John, and why it is a lot more problematic with him still being a leader in animation. And that is the fact that, if you really do think about it, John Lasseter has a very serious bad case of nepotism. in which with John Lasseter on board, it is next to impossible to be climbing the ranks in the animation industry. You can't just start off as like a little helper in an animation studio, and then over the years you would climb up the ranks where eventually you would become a prominent writer, or you would become a director, or even be a producer. Like, those major positions would only be reserved for John Lasseter's buddies, or the people that are very close to John Lasseter. And when you do think about it, especially during his time at Pixar, like if you do think, like, who are the big name directors, or who's usually the director at Pixar? It's only a handful of guys. It's just John Lasseter, Andrew Stanton, Pete Docter, Lee Unkrich, and Brad Bird. It really is just those 5 guys. And even looking up at like my collection that I do have here, it definitely is true where a lot of like the grand majority of them are just those same guys again and again and again and again, and giving very few opportunities for anyone who would be underneath them. Very little opportunities for anyone to go and climb up the ranks. Even if they would go and direct like a really good Oscar-winning animated short, there would be no way that under John Lasseter that they would go and end up directing a movie. Now, say what you will about this day and age in regards to Pixar. Like, I know some people are probably not happy with the latest Pixar films that have been released, and that they're probably not as good as how they were before. But at the very least, Pete Docter, as a creative leader at Pixar, he is giving a lot more opportunities to people who normally they would never get it. And especially nowadays that we do have movies like Luca, directed by Enrico Casarosa. You got you got Turning Red, directed by Domi Shi. You got Lightyear, directed by Angus MacLeod. I think that is his name, by the way. You could correct me if I'm wrong if it's not Angus MacLeod. I think that is his name, but you get what I mean, right? Like, we are seeing more and more new people who are now actually climbing up the ranks. The first time that we have actually, MacLean. Sorry about that, Angus. Okay, Angus MacLean. I was actually very close, surprisingly enough. You gotta give me credit on that. But you get what I mean, though, right? It is actually, the thing is that they are giving more people new opportunities, that we're actually seeing a new generation of Pixar filmmakers to add their contribution to Pixar's legendary legacy. John Lasseter would never do that. In fact, you look at the top people who are currently working at Skydance Animation, and the grand majority of them are people who are very close to John Lasseter. Peggy Holmes, for example, the director of Luck, she's like beforehand, she was the director of some of the Tinkerbell movies, and she has worked closely with John Lasseter. And then some of the other people that are brought in by John Lasseter, you also got Brad Bird, I mean, a prominent Pixar director in the past. Then you also got Rich Moore, who previously worked with John Lasseter on the Wreck-It Ralph movies and Zootopia. And then you also got Alan Menken, who was with John Lasseter while working on Tangled. And then you also have John Ratzenberger, who was very much like Pixar's lucky charm, appearing in almost every single Pixar movie doing a voice, and now he's going to do so with Skydance Animation. Like, you notice that all the biggest names, all the top people, at least creatively, are just among John Lasseter's people. And not only that, but even his own family members are quickly climbing up the ranks above everyone else. Like, it even mentions that Bennett Lasseter, one of John Lasseter's sons, is already climbing up the ranks, and he's already handing out notes in regards to one of the upcoming shows that they are doing. So again, even if you do look past all the ways that John Lasseter has treated women and stuff like that, this form of nepotism is not okay. And this is what's very restraining about it's very restraining in the animation industry, where it's always the same people who are in charge with making the big projects to bring them to life, and the rest, well, they can't go any higher, so the best they can do is just be little animators that maybe some people might notice during the credits, and that's pretty much it. So again and again, we do see how problematic John Lasseter's involvement, or having John Lasseter continue, is very much troublesome. And also, one thing that I do find to be extremely troubling is how that, like, especially like going back into the issue of how this article is very much undermining all the sexual allegations against John Lasseter, is the fact that they try to explain David Ellison, the CEO of Skydance, his reason as to why he brought on board John Lasseter, and tried to make it so that he would view it, like, tried to make it to make people think like how he did when he brought John Lasseter on board, in which they actually stated that they pretty much actually stated that, well, I mean, technically, it's not like he actually got sued. It's not like anything too serious happened. So it pretty much means that he's still able to work. And yes, it's actually right over here. It's actually in this part, in which they stated, after Lasseter's resignation from Disney, Ellison reached out to him through the lawyer they share, Skip Britterham. Lasseter's Disney departure occurred in the heat of the hashtag Me Too movement, after egregious and specific revelations about other powerful Hollywood figures like Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby, and media reports about Lasseter often linked him with those men. In Lasseter's case, there were no charges of sexual assault, nor, according to Ellison, who hired attorneys to scrutinize the claims, settlements made by Lasseter on his behalf. Ellison privately described that Lasseter was not only employable, but a potentially transformative leader for his new animation company. Since then, Ellison has conceded that he mishandled the announcement of the hire and should have been more transparent and inclusive of his employees in making the decision. And you see, this is one thing that I feel like it is highly dangerous, and it is highly toxic. Like, probably the worst crime that this article has commit. Like, again, it's very much to undermine everything that John Lasseter has done. The toxicity that he caused, the misconducts that he did towards the women, like, pretty much everything has pretty much been swept under the rug. Like, it really is the argument of, like, well, to be fair, it could have been worse, so we could just forget about it, am I right? You know, it's that kind of dangerous attitude. And again, trying to compare him to Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby. And yes, I do agree, John Lasseter was not as bad as Weinstein or Cosby, but that doesn't make him good. That doesn't mean that it is excusable to have John Lasseter avoid the consequences to his actions. So overall, I just feel like the more I look into this article right over here, the more that I feel like it is rigged, that it is manufactured by Skydance themselves and by David Ellison in favor of trying to, again, uncancel John Lasseter. And that's one thing that I do find to be extremely dangerous, and that right now, this is just, like, I feel like this whole thing is going to cause a lot more harm than it actually would do good. And honestly, I feel like from the reactions that I do see, I'm going more with the people that are against John Lasseter, because honestly, with all the debates that I've seen in regards to John Lasseter recently, it is very much telling about who is for John and who is against John. And one interesting thing to note in regards to the people against John Lasseter, well, of course, a lot of them are animation fans and, of course, are women, but probably the angriest people who hate John Lasseter and who heavily oppose him are animators, people who are working in the animation industry. Like, I'll say this right now, it is next to impossible to find anyone working in the animation industry that is not within John Lasseter's circles that actually do support John Lasseter. Usually, when someone is an actual animator who has experience working in major studios and stuff like that, and that actually know people who have worked at either Disney or Pixar, they despise John Lasseter. Like, they want John Lasseter to be out of the industry for good. And again, it is next to impossible to find any professional animator who actually does like John Lasseter and actually supports his comeback in Skydance Animation. And that actually does bring up another major point, is actually in regards to the people who do support John Lasseter. And it's very interesting to note of the fact that his supporters are people who have never worked in the animation industry. These are people who are just a part of the cartoon community, that they never worked in the industry and most likely never will. That they don't know what's actually happening behind the scenes and are acting a little bit more ignorant. In fact, I would actually go as far and say that like some of these people, like they have a very dangerous mindset where they're a lot more selfish, that they care more about the products that the studio would deliver than the people who would actually go and make the products, thus resulting in them to not really view why it's such a problem of John Lasseter expressing this toxic behavior to everyone working at Pixar and Disney. In their mindset, they're like, well, I mean, is it really a problem if they can go and deliver good movies? I mean, I'm just saying, like, if he can make something awesome, then who cares if John Lasseter would hug people without their consent? You know, like you also got those people that are extremely prominent in the pro side of John Lasseter. And I'm just saying right now that if I would have to go and pick a side between the animators who hate John Lasseter and the fanboys who support John Lasseter, I'm gonna go with the professional animators because they seem to have a better idea of what they are talking about than the ignorant fanboys. I'm just saying. So yes, overall, with this with this article right over here, like I think this is honestly pretty dangerous. And again, it is absolutely rigged by the people at Skydance Animation, where the more that you do look into it, the more you realize that it is rigged. It is manipulated in order to uncancel John Lasseter and to make people view him as the great animation icon like he was before. But honestly, I don't think it's really working out, especially with the backlash that this article has been getting from time to time. But I don't know. I just wanted to go and express my thoughts into all this, and that this article is just, it's not been doing well. Yeah, well, it's not been doing well to convince people that John Lasseter is worth bringing back and to make him like the animation master like he was before. Okay, so with that said, it's now time I want to pass the mic onto the chat wall. And I would like to ask you all, what do you think about this article? Have you read John Lasseter's second act? And also, which side are you in the whole debate of John Lasseter? Do you support John Lasseter's comeback, or are you against him? Let me know what you all think on this. Let's see now. Okay. Nepotism is wrong. It caused people feeling unwanted. And wait a minute. Why the fridge am I putting on my headphones? I don't know. I did that instinctively, but anyways, nepotism is wrong. It causes people feeling unwanted and unheard. I'm glad Pixar got rid of the glasses Hawaiian shirt man who never gave aspiring filmmakers a chance other than his own buddies. Sure, the filmmakers are fantastic at what they do, but they should have give younger filmmakers like me a chance to shine. Nowadays, Domi Shi and Pete Docter are now my favorite filmmakers today. They listen to their fans, they love their fans, and one of the most down-to-earth people you'll ever see. Okay, that's nice. I'll be real and say I will never understand why John Lasseter is still lurking in the industry after all that happened, and that this article proves my inhibitions true. From the high ego, creative visionary behind Toy Story and Cars, what the hell? His poor leadership, even hiring of people like Peggy Holmes just feels like nepotistic. I'm still gonna give Luck a watch, but I'm gonna say that if the rewrites turn out to make the movie bad, I know who to blame. Oh, yeah. And you know, the funny thing about this article is that they really do sell John Lasseter way too highly. Like, one thing that a lot of people are pissed off about is what this article calls John Lasseter's signature. And it's actually right around the beginning, right over here. Yeah, it's like right over here, in which they state, it's the kind of creativity sparking, empathy building research that became common in the field of animation after it gained currency at Pixar and Walt Disney Animation Studios under their former chief creative John Lasseter, who encouraged filmmakers to travel Scotland from Brave and the South Pacific for Moana. Such excursions are among the signatures John Lasseter took with him to Skydance, where he was controversially named the head of the studio's animation unit in early 2019. Yeah, and just reading that, I'm just there like, I'm sorry, what? You know that doing research trips is a common thing in the industry even way before John Lasseter. That's not a signature that he created. Like, there have been several times before, like Jeffrey Katzenberg and his crew, in which they had to go to Egypt in order to do research for their first movie, The Prince of Egypt. And not to mention The Lion King, when they had to go and do research in Africa. Like, is that considered John Lasseter's signature as well? No, that was actually made way before it. It's a common practice in the animation industry and should not be considered John Lasseter's signature, especially when, like, yeah, everyone's doing it because it has already been done way before John Lasseter even entered into the animation industry. So for that, I have to call bullcrap on. Let's see. I like Hollywood Reporter and all the way they cover deep into the entertainment world, but I do not like this article or the way that it was written, as it is nothing but praise and bias towards Lasseter. Maybe it managed to cover what happened over at Skydance Animation during the making of Luck, but I feel like it is something that would normally come out of Fox News. Despite that issue, I still have a feeling that Skydance animated films like Luck will suck because of Lasseter's involvement. Oh yeah, especially like when he came in, like the biggest contribution that John Lasseter has done with these movies is just hit the reset button. Like, he would see some projects, he's unsure about how they're going, and just hits the reset button, get rid of the original creators and directors, and replace it with his own people, which is exactly what he did with Luck, and exactly what he did with one of the upcoming one of the upcoming animated series that they have. Let's see, what other comments do we have? Wow, John Lasseter is really something, isn't he? With this sussy article basically ignoring the allegations against the guy, it just undermines it. And seriously, John really needs to clean up his act and stop spreading harm. I definitely agree with the people who are against him. I just hope that the movie Luck would prove his return, but if not, then it will be over for John. But regardless, this article is rigged. Yeah, and I'm just gonna go and say it right now. I think honestly, it's for the best for it's the best for everyone, including John, that honestly, the dude should just retire. He really does have he really has no rights to still be running an animation industry, an animation studio the way that he would do, especially with his nepotism and his history of toxic behavior. I mean, the dude is literally a wealthy white man. I mean, he might as well just go and retire and do like whatever else he wants to do, like collect trains or whatever, you know? Like, he doesn't need to work in the industry. The dude can just retire and he can be wealthy and happy for the rest of his life. He doesn't need to still be working in the industry. It's actually been proven that the industry is better off without John Lasseter. Let's see, what else do we have here? When it comes to my views on John Lasseter, I don't think he's the worst out there. He is still but he is still pretty bad. So after reading this article, I feel like they are trying to undermine the situation and just give praise to Lasseter. And this is why I'm not excited for Luck, because of how this is just gonna get worse, and why I am especially not looking forward to the culture wars that will cause from grifter channels like Clownfish TV. Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think that's going to be one of the worst things to actually come out of it, and what I'm not excited about. You know you're going to get those white nationalist grifting channels like Quartering, Clownfish TV, Geeks Plus Gamers, that they are really going to capitalize the living crap out of it to try to oversell John Lasseter like he's the great animation legend and keep bashing Disney, saying that they're stupid for kicking him out. Like, they're idiot. Disney is too woke because they care about women. They view them as people equally towards men, and that's why they're losing, and Skydance Animation is going to beat Disney. You know, like, all that misogynistic incel bullcrap that they're going to do, and that is something that I'm not excited about. All right, I think I'm gonna go with one more comment before we move on to the next story. Don't get me, actually 2 more comments. Don't get me wrong, I'm not 100% against John Lasseter. I feel like he has done some great innovation work throughout his career, but it goes without saying that what he did is pretty bad. Plus, this crappy article can basically best describe as John Lasseter is a great person, and that's fine. La 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 la. We're not going to listen to any of the animators have to say because they have no evidence. Thankfully, Pixar is actually in good hands with Pete Docter. Yeah, especially. I do agree there. And our final comment on this. The nepotism thing seems like a very boomer and Republican thing. Lasseter is in the age range of boomers, and while he's never specified his political alignment, his themes in his movies and attitude gives me the impression that he is. My sister is a character animator, and she had a real hard time getting in the industry, and the nepotism problem is not good for her or any other animators. Not everyone can afford to retire, but new ideas are needed. Exactly, and the only way to get new ideas is to get it from new people. And again, I feel like it is for the best that John Lasseter to retire, but because of some out-of-touch CEO who is so desperate to try to uncancel John Lasseter and has no regard to literally anyone else, it just makes it so problematic. So again, I'm really not excited for Luck to come out, and not necessarily because of the movie itself, but because of the whole controversies that it's going to cause because of John Lasseter. Okay, so now with that said, it is now time that we are actually gonna go and get into the fun part, and that is in regards to the trailers. Yep, I actually got 3 trailers to go and present to you all, and we're definitely gonna go and have a fun time checking these out. And our first one is actually a last-minute addition, because it was actually just today, as I am recording this, that this trailer actually came out. And it is actually something that a lot of fans are very much excited to go and see. And especially in regards to the fact that many of the Disney animated short series are actually doing very, very well, and they actually do provide some amazingly great content, including Dog Days was just wonderfully wholesome. You got Scrat Tales that is hilarious and great, and a great way to cap off Blue Sky Studios. And even just recently with Baymax, it's so sweet. You know, it's one of the most adorable things that you could find on Disney Plus. I highly recommend you go and check that out, especially if you are a fan of Big Hero 6. But then we also got another one coming out. Speaking of John Lasseter and Cars, we actually got the grand return of Lightning McQueen and Mater. So let's go ahead and check out the trailer for Cars on the Road.
Yeah! Hey, Mater, want to race?
Well...
Come on!
Look at you, all charged up to race. But I don't have a chance against... No! Come on, Lightning McQueen! Hey, buddy, just letting you know I'm gonna be gone because I'm heading back east to go to my sister's wedding.
Wait a minute. You have a sister?
Whoa!
Boggles the mind, man.
It must be ages since you've seen her.
What if I go with you?
Really?
Let's make it a road trip.
There's thousands of things to see.
But just the tiniest little taste of death.
Oh, dear mother.
I'm guessing this is the beginning of something great.
You got that right. Well, wander the back cruise.
This is so cool.
Make new friends.
Where are you guys headed? I gotta rinse off this old baggage.
Whoa, look at you.
What about me?
Can't mess with perfection.
I spy with my little eye 2 clackety kitty cars.
Points for pageantry.
This is not what I expected.
Whoa! All the bumps along the road. That's what makes life worth living. I got you, buddy!
I love these.
I don't know.
Come on, look, you picked the last stop. World's largest tire maze.
McQueen!
Mater.
McQueen!
Mater.
McQueen!
Parents, streamed on Disney Plus.
And that is the trailer of Cars on the Road, in which it will be coming out on Disney Plus Day on September 8th. And before I really get into this, I just want to go and make one big clarification that, to be very honest with you guys, I'm not the biggest fan of the Cars movies. I mean, yeah, like I definitely do agree with most other people that Cars 2 is not really good. And probably like easily the worst of the Pixar movies. But when it comes to like the first and the third Cars, I only find it to be just okay. You know, like they're not great Pixar movies, but they're like, I guess it could be worse. But then again, I do understand that there is like a prominent fan base of Cars. I mean, like the merchandising has become one of Disney's biggest phenomenon. Like really, the Cars franchise is literally $1 billion industry, not because of the movies, but all the toys that they would go and sell. And I know that nowadays there are plenty of people out there who love Cars because they grew up with it. Like Cars is their childhood movie. And honestly, in regards to that, I cannot take that away from you. And if you really cherish Cars because you loved it as a kid, then you know what? Great on you. Like whatever opinion that I may have, I know that I cannot take that away from it. So I know that like I just feel like it's one of those cases where honestly, like it's, you know, like it's for many people, but it's not really for me. Honestly, I feel like the best thing to ever come out of Cars is Radiator Springs at Disney California Adventure and going into Radiator Springs Racers. Like that, I will admit, is actually really, really awesome. So I will admit that hearing about Cars on the Road, like, you know, I'm not the most excited for it because like I'm not really into cars, but I will give it that what they are showing is actually pretty cute. You know, you got this little narrative of like, oh, Mater and Lightning McQueen are like teaming up to go on the road where Mater wants to go and see his sister's wedding and stuff like that. But then on the way, they encounter some crazy things going on. Like they enter a circus, they enter into a Mad Max world, they enter into like this dinosaur area, like suddenly becoming Jurassic Park. And there's even at one point that they enter into a haunted house. And I gotta say, like the haunted house part is actually pretty surprising. Like I did not expect that we would see like these cars coming out of paintings. And then you would have like a little bit of a haunted mansion moment. One thing that I do ask though, one thing that I am scared of the most is that suddenly like you got all these cars coming out and then suddenly we get the Jared Leto car. That suddenly the rumors are true. Jared Leto is going to come out as a car and say, it's Hatbox time. Like, it would just be a nightmare there though. It would just be like, no, please, not Hatbox Leto, anything but Hatbox Leto. Oh boy, but yeah. So basically we're seeing all these crazy adventures that Lightning McQueen and Mater are going to go into. And one thing I will admit, and something that I also do admire a bit from the Cars movies, is that you do have the creativity of like this world that is entirely built for cars, that like basically you take elements of cars and like you transform it onto them. And like we definitely do see a lot more of that, and really taking advantage of all the different concepts that they would go and think of. Like you would have the circus moment, you would have the moment where they want to make Mater go extremely fast, like kind of go like the bullet, like the bullet train Mater, where he wants to be so much faster than Lightning McQueen. Or you would have like the dinosaurs, like we're actually getting dinosaur cars, which is an interesting concept. But then again, I can imagine how it could go and make so much money for Disney. Like now they got a new lineup of dinosaur cars. Yeah, that's going to be making millions for sure. And but like you got all these different ideas, and I think honestly for Cars fans, like this is going to be an absolute treat. I think for them, with all these different ideas that they are throwing together, and not to mention, like, I mean, technically the Cars trilogy is officially complete. It's not like they're going to go and make more new Cars movies. And like with these kinds of concepts, it looks pretty fun. And honestly, I'm just going to say this, like after what I've seen with this trailer of Cars on the Road, I feel like the concept that they would have with Cars 2 would actually work out so much better as an animated short for Cars on the Road, because the whole concept of that film is supposed to be Mater as a spy. And it sounds absolutely ridiculous, and it feels like it would be completely stupid. And as it turns out, it kind of is. But in this case here, if you put that as an animated short, I feel like it would have worked much better, because like with these concepts here, I'm just going to say right now, they would be absolutely stupid if they would put that as like a major motion picture, if they would become like a legit Cars movie. Like with all the Cars dinosaurs, with the Mad Max Cars world, when you would get the haunted house Cars thing. I don't know. I feel like with all of that, I feel like they wouldn't work as a movie. But if you put that as like a cute little animated short, I think it would work out. And not to mention, one thing that I will confess is that there are times here when it actually did make me laugh. There are a few moments that, like they didn't make me go like bursting out in laughter like it's hilarious, but there are moments where like it is actually very cute. There are a couple of highlights for me, like what was it? One great example was actually not at the end. Like I'll save that for later. But there was one that I find to be pretty. Yeah, okay, yeah. It's actually this part here when Mater comes out of the car wash. Whoops, oh, sorry. I forgot to put on the volume.
Shoot! What about me?
Can't mess with perfection.
Okay, that I had to admit is pretty funny, but also at the end, like the tire maze. The tire maze is also another one that I thought to be pretty funny.
I love these. I don't know. Come on. Look, you picked the last stop. World's largest tire maze.
McQueen!
Mater.
McQueen!
Mater.
McQueen!
That's another one that I actually find to be pretty funny. Like you just get the cars, you just get Mater and McQueen just like screaming at each other, McQueen, Mater, McQueen, Mater, McQueen. That's actually pretty fun. Oh, and by the way, not to mention, I mean, technically, if I do recall, Owen Wilson and Larry the Cable Guy are going to be coming back to do their respective voices. So that is something to look forward to for Cars fans. So overall with this, like, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, even if I'm not necessarily a Cars fan, I would I'm thinking maybe I'll check this out. I'll see how it is. I mean, it's supposed to be a cute little concept. It's not supposed to be something major, and who knows, maybe this could actually be a lot of fun. This could actually be pretty enjoyable. So I'll definitely consider it. I'll actually go and maybe I'll think about giving it a watch. Maybe not immediately, like when it comes out, but it's a good consideration. I will say the trailer did sell me a little bit. And if you are all excited for Cars on the Road to be released on Disney Plus, then keep in mind it's going to be coming out on Disney Plus Day on September 8th. And with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall. And I would like to ask you all, what did you think of Cars on the Road? Are you guys excited for this? Are you a Cars fan? Especially let me know what you think on that one. So honestly, give me my opinions on how you feel about this trailer. Fudge nabbit, I keep grabbing my headphones. It's the cup I want, not the headphones. Okay, let's see. How ironic that we got a trailer from a series about Mater going on a trip for his sister's wedding when I literally just got back from a vacation to Cyprus for my sister's wedding. But really, this show looks really fun. The animation is stellar and makes a great use of the world. McQueen and Mater's dynamic here is top-notch, and the road trip concept is great, so I'll give it a go. But are they going to bring back the most important character in the pantheon? The ham car. Oh my god, that would actually be interesting. Like, suddenly they would enter into the Toy Story Cars world. Like, suddenly they become the toys. You know, kind of like, just suddenly make it into, like, a Kingdom Hearts scenario. That would actually be very interesting. Let's see there. Man, Jurassic Car World Do Mater looks so much better than expected. Jokes aside, as a major Cars fan, as well as at least 1 and 3 and 2, well, at least 1 and 3 and 2 are just fine, this definitely looks like a blast. The animation is once again stellar, and a lot of the concepts are interesting, and there were parts that did make me laugh. Gotta check this out when it comes. And yeah, and that's one thing I do agree. Like, I think probably the best thing to come out of the Cars movies is undeniably the animation, especially the concept of how they transformed, like, the world as we know it so that it would be more accustomed to cars. I think it actually does really work out. So that's one thing that I definitely do admire. And they actually did take great advantage here, probably even more so debatably than the movies. So that's a great, you know, that's definitely one thing that they're definitely selling well with this trailer. Let's see what we got here. Back in my childhood, Cars was pretty much the majority of my childhood. Not a fan of the sequel, and I thought Cars 3 was pretty good, but I loved the first movie as a kid, and I still enjoy it a lot to this day. I also bought a ton of Cars merchandise when I was younger. Anyways, Cars on the Road looks a lot of fun. The animation is great, there are a lot of interesting concepts, the humor is decently funny, and I just like seeing these characters. Overall, as a Cars fan, I will be watching this. All right, I've been waiting years for this, since Investors Day 2020, and it is so much weirder than I thought from the concept art. I wish the other members of Radiator Springs could be in it more, but I'm still happy to see Lightning and Mater on this world again. Owen Wilson is Lightning, Mater pretty funny, their friendship is wholesome, and Slash Fix will abound more. I was 10 when the first movie came out, and it was the movie that made me want to work at Pixar. My God, this'll make me happy. Okay, well, this is definitely selling it for Cars fans. As Owen Wilson said it best, wow. This trailer for Cars on the Road is very wild. The animation is still fantastic as the 3 movies, the voice acting is excellent, the jokes are pretty funny, and the scenarios there are pretty cool and fun. As someone who loves Cars as a kid, this could be a blast to watch. I might be watching it when it comes out on Disney Plus Day in September. Also, is anyone surprised that Mater has a sister? You know, I'm just gonna go and say it right now. Like, honestly, like, considering that this is all building up to, like, meeting Mater's sister, I got a feeling that one way that they're going to go with it is that they are going to make Mater, they're going to make Mater's sister super hot. They're going to make her, like, one of the sexiest cars in the entire universe. Like, you know, kind of like, you know, that comedic dynamic where you got Mater as the weird hick boy, and then you got the super sexy car girl as Mater's sister. Like, I could totally be wrong, and like, maybe it will just be a gender-bent Mater, but, and I know, it seems weird, like, to think about the idea about, like, a sexy car, per se, but then again, I have seen on Twitter where they debated that the yellow car girl from Cars 3 has huge boobs, so honestly, anything can be possible, but yeah, I think that's what's going to be a major thing that will happen in Cars on on the Road. Mark my word. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's going to be a guess for me. Yeah, Ramirez. Ramirez. That's who I'm talking about. I've actually seen an argument that people have that Ramirez, that if she were a person, she would be a massively busty girl. I don't know why. I don't know how they came to that conclusion, but that seems to be something. And in my mind, honestly, with my stupid man brain, like I was just thinking with that statement, hey, artists, can you guys give me proof of that? I don't know. I need a visual example of what they mean. Okay, I'm going to go one more comment before we move on to our next story. Let's see. I haven't read you, actually. So I enjoyed quite much of the first Cars movie back in 2016, but completely skipped the 2 sequels. But in all honesty, this series looks bonkers. The possibilities for each episode in this trailer are very promising, but with the expanding of the Cars universe, how likely would there be a crossover between the Cars franchise and, let's say, the Gran Turismo games? Full throttle mode, no speed racer, please. I don't know. That really does depend if Disney wants to go and do that deal. I mean, that's like a whole other subject together. But it looks like there is a lot of great enthusiasm for Cars on the Road. That's actually great to see. And I mean, even I myself am actually pretty optimistically curious about it. So if you are all excited for Cars on the Road, then keep in mind that it is going to be coming out later next month on September 8th. All right, so let's go and move on to our next trailer. And with this one, this is actually a movie that I have been following since the very beginning, since like kind of the inception of it, or at the very least, when it first revealed its crowdfunding campaign. And from then on, I have just been eager to see what this movie is going to be and how the director is going to be bringing this movie to life. And we have seen a trailer before last year, but now we have received a brand new one, especially with the fact that they have revealed a few months ago that this is going to be released in limited theaters. So, with that said, let us now go and check out the trailer for the upcoming documentary, Claydream. So let me just go and set myself up, and here we go.
We have a special guest tonight, the man who made claymation a household word, Will Vinton.
I never really had much interest in film production until I went to college.
This is Berkeley in the 60s.
Things were getting pretty wacky. And in particular, I was working on a technique of clay animation.
Claymation. Thank you for turning me on.
Winning an Oscar was huge.
All of Will's dreams were coming true.
We knew we were pioneering something.
It felt like art school plus vacation. I have my actual contract. It doesn't even have my real name on it. It was just like, hey, you want to work here? What's your name? I'll just make one up.
I remember one day thinking, we're all going to end up being old together. It all felt very close.
We did so many things by virtue of the fact that we were doing them very, very inexpensively. Claymation just blew up.
It went viral in an era where viral didn't exist yet.
Well, we've all heard of the overnight sensation.
And then everything started to come apart.
There would be death threats.
Important people started to leave because they were so disenchanted with what was going on.
It became a very corporate place. The whole structure, the feeling.
The employees, the creditors, ignore all their interests. Stunning, really.
They took everything. They didn't need to do that.
Hey, did you guys finish that shot yet?
It was kind of a beast with a life of its own that didn't really equal me so much anymore.
He's always got that optimistic demeanor. You wonder, what are the secret doubts?
Tell me how you really feel about all of this.
One could say the story makes the character, or the character makes the story.
And that is the trailer of Claydream, in which it will be released in selected theaters. More details should be revealed about that coming soon. Now, as I said before, I've been following this since the very beginning, ever since they first revealed that there is a crowdfunding campaign. I made a pledge to go and support it. Even years ago, since like the very beginning when this project was announced, I actually did do an interview video with the director Mark Evans, a fantastic guy and a very passionate filmmaker, telling us his experience and his journey with creating this documentary. But one thing that I will say about this is that I really do feel like the more time that was spent creating this entire feature, the more interesting it has become, because throughout the production, there have been so many things that have actually happened, where you have in 2018, where the main subject of the whole documentary unexpectedly passed away because he died of a disease that he had that he didn't really bring up to anyone else. And he still kept a very positive attitude, and then suddenly he was gone. And then following afterwards, you got the whole pandemic, which that is an entire piece of madness in itself that I'm sure adds an extra obstacle to the creation of this documentary. And even getting newsletters again and again from the crowdsource, Mark Evans would tell us about the thought process and how the production is going, and some of the things that he wants to do, some of the things that sadly he would have to go and scrap, and ultimately it just leads up to this one feature film. And one thing that I do have to say in regards to this trailer in particular, I will say that it feels a little bit more simple and a lot more straightforward as to what people would expect out of this compared to the last one from last year. Because with this trailer that we have over here with Claydream, this is a lot more straightforward in terms of a Will Vinton biography, that it tells us about the life of Will Vinton, and we pretty much see the rise and fall of his entire career with the whole thing with Claymation, where it starts out with how he really made it big, winning that Oscar, and then for the animated short Close Mondays, and then suddenly we move forward where things get better and better and more popular, where he would then go on to make world famous commercials such as the California Raisins and the Noid and several other different works where claymation used to be a very dominant force in the animation industry. And then suddenly following afterwards, you do get the downfall, where you do see the decline of Will Vinton Studios and that things have not been working out well. This trailer has been a little bit vague about it, but you do see what it's trying to sell you is that this is a major rise and fall story of the man who has invented claymation. And in that regard, that's why, in my opinion, I feel like I probably prefer the teaser trailer from last year, and that is mainly because of the fact that in that teaser trailer they actually highlighted something that this trailer over here completely omitted, and that is in regards to the lawsuit. And I'm referring to the big lawsuit that Will Vinton did against Phil Knight, and pretty much suing him for ruining his entire studio. If you guys don't know the story, Phil Knight came in and bought Will Vinton Studios and pretty much shaped it more his way. And that was back during a time when things have really been not working well for claymation, and that business has been really getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And Will Vinton decided, you know what, you're part of the problem, you're not being a solution, so I'm gonna go and sue you. And that was a major thing that they highlighted in that teaser trailer and really showed the intensity that was going on, in which they highlighted that Claydream was also a major battle between this legendary animator versus a wealthy titan in the business industry. Like literally like Will Vinton is suing the founder of Nike. And that's one thing that I do feel a little bit disappointed that this trailer over here kind of omitted out. And I do hope that with the with the movie itself that they still retain that element that is like a major deal. And I do hope that at the end, like when you actually do see the movie, you would actually have a mix of both. That it is that rise and fall of Will Vinton, that straightforward biography, but you also do have the elements of that lawsuit, because I gotta say, it's probably the most interesting element that very few people actually do know about in regards to Will Vinton. It's like, yeah, he's the founder of Claymation. He's the guy who created the California Raisins. He's the guy that collaborated with Michael Jackson on Captain EO and Moonwalker. Oh, and he's also the guy that sued the founder of Nike. Like, you know, that seems to be an element that really does stand out compared to the rest. But still, though, that doesn't change the fact that this is still a really awesome trailer, and it really does hype me up to go and see this movie. It definitely is fantastic and does a wonderful job to really go and highlight what people know about Will Vinton the most. That if you really want to learn about the, you want to learn about Will Vinton, like that is the way to go. Like there was a once upon a time that really the best thing you could go and watch to learn about Will Vinton was my video, was my animation look back on Will Vinton. But now we do actually have something that is way better than my old video, that is a lot more deeply researched, and that they really are gonna go into the life of Will Vinton with the elements that everyone knows and with elements that I'm sure that we are going to learn. So I don't think there is an official release date as to when they are going to be bringing this out. Actually, no. Apparently, according to this, it's actually going to be a lot sooner than I thought. Apparently, it's going to be on August 5th. So it's actually just right around the corner. Holy crap. Honestly, if you can go and find it, please do so. In fact, even this trailer on YouTube actually does have a link to the Fandango website. So if you could go and check it out on the big screen, I highly recommend you go and do so. Again, I've been following this entire journey for so long, and I can't wait to see the whole final result of it. So if you guys are interested in checking out Claydream, then just go to Fandango, and if there is a ticket that says that you could go and check it out in an area near you, I highly recommend you go and take it. All right, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall. And I want to ask you all, what do you all think about the trailer of Claydream? Are you guys interested to learn more about Will Vinton? Are you guys interested to check this out? Are you guys a little bit more iffy about it? Let me know what you all think. Let's see. Oh, wow. Already some people are saying like, oh, you know what? Screw luck. I'm going to go and watch this movie instead. Okay, let's see what we got here. This trailer looks really impressive. I have always found the work of Will Vinton very interesting and fascinating, and also the downfall of Will Vinton and what he went through in his career. So I'm really interested to see this documentary. Also, I'm wondering if this documentary will show his time working on the M&M commercials. Yeah, that's actually another one that should be brought up, because not many people know that even though those are CG, that's actually two of Will Vinton's most famous creations. He was the one, like, it's his studio that actually created the red and green, the red and yellow M&M, or the entire M&M's team that we know today. Let's see, what other comments do we have? Let's see. This looks really interesting and curious. Maybe a tearjerker, maybe also tear-jerking as well. Also, there's something I wonder based on recent news in the stop motion industry, and that might explain the delays. Laika and the Knight family. Will Vinton's studio used to be Laika, and that studio is a terrible place for stop motion animation and their treatment. I feel like the director had to scrap out the court case aspect or had to minimize it because of the Knights running Laika. I'm probably wrong, but maybe. But then again, if that would be the case, they would have probably removed the teaser trailer, which, as you can see here, it's still on. You could still go and find it, which is right over here. So I don't think that would actually be the case. Maybe I'm wrong, but we'll see. Okay, let's see. Hold on, wait a minute. Where's the Vinton versus Knight lawsuit from the very first trailer? But in all seriousness, this is certainly more of a Claydream. In fact, this is a Claydream so bonkers, it could be on par with this year's Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. I don't know if I'll be able to watch this documentary, but this really looks fascinating. Also, the fact that it's coming this Friday, I'm honestly like, what? Yeah, honestly, even I'm surprised. I was like, oh, you're coming out sooner than expected. Well, crap, I guess I gotta do some last minute scheduling. Okay, let's see what other, do we have any other comments here? I'm so watching it because I love claymation. Will really knows how to make the claymation look appealing in my eyes. I'll get my raisins and my Domino's pizza along with a bottle of Coke to watch this documentary. Look, what the heck is that? Yeah, exactly. What other, you know, like, what is Luck? Is there a movie called Luck coming out? I don't know. All right, I think I'll read one more comment before we move on to the next trailer. This might be a very interesting watch. Like, his story of studio really seems like it made quite an impact, but then dropped that you think it would be good enough for a Saving Mr. Banks-like movie. By the way, your look back video is honestly the best of the stop motion collection. The story was highly interesting. Also love the times of the 70s and 80s. Overall, I might give this a watch. All right, that's very nice. So, if you guys are interested to go and check out Claydream, again, go to Fandango and see if Claydream is available near your area this Friday. Okay, folks, it is now time that we jump into our final trailer that we have over here. And I want to go and highlight the fact that 2022 has been a major year for Pinocchio, hasn't it? And we've already seen a whole bunch of them coming out and already making major news. We just went through the Pauly Shore Pinocchio, in which he went on his own and has the whole world to see. We all know about that one. I certainly do. We got the upcoming Disney live-action remake, in which we did get a little taste of it with the teaser trailer, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have another one coming soon. I feel like, honestly, that Pinocchio trailer is going to be just around the corner, and I would not be surprised if I'm going to be covering it on the next episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. But now, we are going to go and check out the good one. We are finally going to see the adaptation that really is going to be worth watching. So with that said, let us now go into the teaser trailer of the very long-awaited Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
From my many wanderings on this earth, I had so much to say about imperfect fathers and imperfect sons, and about loss and love. I've learned that there are old spirits who rarely involve themselves in the human world, but on occasion, they do. I want to tell you a story. It's a story you may think you know, but you don't. A story of the wooden boy.
Where am I?
I feel as though you've been here before. The wooden boy with the borrowed soul. Be his sun. Fill his days with light. We shall call you Pinocchio.
Oh, what a day, what a day.
Dang, boy! That's my initial reaction. Dang! And yes, that is indeed Guillermo del Toro's stop-motion animated Pinocchio. And we don't necessarily have an official release date as of yet, but they did promise that it will be released in selected theaters this November, and it will be coming out on Netflix at the end of the year, in December. We don't know when specifically, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of hype for it. And I just gotta say, now, even though this is just a teaser trailer, already this thing, I feel like all the hype that went behind it, like the anticipation, I feel like it's going to be paying off. And the first thing that I want to go and comment is actually in regard to the animation. The fact that we got this stop motion animated Pinocchio with a very interesting style that is that takes the illustrations of Gris Grimly and brings them to life in here. The stop motion animation in this is beautiful. Like, this is full on top notch animation that you would expect out of like some of the major studios out there, like Laika or Aardman, or like the people who, or like the British people who did like Fantastic Mr. Fox, Corpse Bride, Frankenweenie, and all those guys. The stop motion animation here, I gotta say, is absolutely beautiful. The way that they do bring this entire world to life, it's just magnificent what they have done here. And something that I want to add that feels very much lifelike as well. So already in the animation, it's beautiful, and the designs are also fantastic. And also, like, there is a bit of creepiness over there. Like, one thing I gotta say, this has probably one of the freakiest blue fairies that I have seen. Like, I think, like, her, amongst everyone else, she is the proof that this is brought to us by Guillermo del Toro. She really does look like someone out of Pan's Labyrinth. Like, you see, like, she has multiple wings, like, not just on her back, but also on her hips. Like, the glowing eyes, and also, like, multiple eyes on her wings. Like, this is definitely a unique blue fairy. Like, very intimidating at first, but you hope that, like, okay, maybe she is a nice blue fairy. It's like, oh, please, God. Like, I see her, and I'm like, oh, please, God, let her be a nice blue fairy. Please let her be a good one that's not going to kill me. But yeah, like, honestly, the animation, I feel like they really sell it, and they sell it beautifully in here. And also, one thing that I can say that I really do like from this, and that's an element that I feel like is probably a massive challenge for this adaptation, is the fact that just from watching this from this teaser trailer alone, I actually do feel like this is going to be a different Pinocchio adaptation. This is not going to be like any other Pinocchio adaptations that we've seen before. Like when Ewan McGregor as Jiminy Cricket, when he tells you that, oh, this is a story that you think you know, but you don't. You know, I love like the sass of it. It's like, oh, you think you know Pinocchio? Well, you don't. Okay, you think you know, but you don't. You think, like, yeah, you know that Disney movie? Yeah, no, still, you don't know. But honestly, it really does feel like a different adaptation, and that is mainly because of Geppetto. Like, this version of Geppetto is a lot more tragic. Like, you could tell that, like, with Geppetto, he's not just, like, a kind-hearted toy maker where he decided, hey, let's go and make a puppet. You know, let's go and make a puppet. Oh, boy, wouldn't it be fun if he were my son? No, like, this was, like, a tragedy. Like, Pinocchio, in a way, is Geppetto's coping mechanism, especially when they have revealed that Geppetto's son had passed away, and he decided, like, in order to make amends with it or to try to cope with it, he decided to create his own son made out of wood, which is why we ended up getting Pinocchio. And in terms of that, that's where we actually do see that there is this different layer. It gives us a hint that this is not going to be like any other adaptation of Pinocchio, and that Guillermo del Toro's approach, along with the other people that are working on it, they're doing something completely different, and they're giving us an adaptation that is completely different. And that's one thing that I do admire so far from this feature that they're showing us with the teaser trailer. Now, I know technically there have been plenty of other Pinocchio adaptations that they tried to do something a bit different, and I'll say right now, it really did not work out well, especially with the Pauly Shore Pinocchio, where they decided, yeah, let's not adapt Carlo Collodi's Pinocchio, and we're going to do something completely different, in which we're going to have a gay Pinocchio who unconvincingly falls in love with this blue-haired woman, and instead of Jiminy Cricket, we're going to have a Napoleon Dynamite horse come in and say, I'm going to be your father, Pinocchio. I will go and take on that responsibility when Tom Kenny Geppetto is barely gonna be in this movie at all. You know, like, okay, yeah, it's true that Pinocchio is different, but maybe it's not different in a good way. Like, really, it's the kind of different. Honestly, like, the best way to describe it is that it is the kind of different in which you pretty much react like that cat in the movie and be like, Mamma mia, and what did boy? Proof! I still can't believe that was legitimately a thing that happened in the movie. That is, oh my god. That's probably one of the greatest highlights of 2022. That stupid cat with the gun. Oh boy. But yeah, like, there are bad difference, but this is a good different. This one, I feel like they're going to do something completely different than any other adaptation, and it is going to unironically work. And from there, there's not really a whole lot that I can go and fully comment on this. This is a teaser trailer after all, and they are hinting at us a lot more things that are going to be coming our way, especially like you see with, like, I guess this guy is going to be like, we're gonna get a skinnier Stromboli, it seems, and he's gonna be a lot more threatening, like especially pulling a sword on Pinocchio. And here, like, we do have this proof over here, like especially with the performances that like with what Pinocchio is doing. Or actually, looking at the name in the bottom, I just noticed, it's like, okay, maybe this is not actually going to be Stromboli and it's going to be a different character. But also, like, it looks like we're going to have new characters as well. Like, we got a monkey as well. Like we got this monkey character. He's going to be joining in Pinocchio's little adventures. There's actually a better view. Yeah, like when everybody has a hug with Geppetto, Pinocchio, and we got the monkey. So that's going to be another thing. But overall, though, I am still extremely excited for this adaptation. I cannot wait to see what Guillermo del Toro has in store with this version of Pinocchio. I've been hearing it for years, and now that it is coming to life, honestly, with this trailer, it immediately has my attention. It's got me so excited that I'm just having a bit of a coughing fit. But honestly, I think I could safely say that for the remainder of 2022, Pinocchio is honestly my most anticipated animated movie. I mean, I know there are going to be a lot of great ones that are going to be coming soon, like Puss in Boots and Strange World looks really promising, but Pinocchio is the one that I am really hyped up for, and I am really hoping that it is going to be the best animated movie of 2022. So I'm already saying that right now. I am hoping, and that's how excited that I am. So if you guys are excited to go and check out Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, then keep in mind it will be available in selected theaters in November, and it will be coming to Netflix this December. All right, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what did you think of Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio? Does this make you very much excited for it? Does it make you a little bit iffy about it? Let me know what you all think about this movie or this teaser trailer. Okay, let's see what we got here. We got That looks like fun. Best Pinocchio of the year. Not that there was much competition. We have a cricket that looks good, that actually the actual Pinocchio boy is seen and can act, and just really pretty. I hope the stop motion animators were treated well and were well paid. Then again, since it is Netflix's production, I have doubts. But then again, this is a completely different production. Keep in mind that this is stop motion and it was not made entirely at Netflix Studios. So who knows? This could be a different case, especially with the fact that Guillermo del Toro is in charge of this feature. And I'm sure he'll do his best to make sure that the people working there are well treated. Let's see now. This trailer of Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio looks really good so far, and it will definitely be the best Pinocchio movie this year compared to the bland Disney live-action remake and Pauly Shore's Yas movie. The animation, character, story, etc. looks promising so far. It better be the best animated movie of the year. Oh, I'm hoping so too, man. I am hoping so too. Let's see there. Guillermo del Toro, you goddamn king! This trailer looks absolutely phenomenal. The animation is insane, Ewan McGregor's performance is so far pretty good, and the tone is really intriguing, going for a more ethereal setting, so this is absolutely a must-watch. As long as Pinocchio and at least say, as long as Mr. Pinocchio at least says, Mr. Pinocchio, I can't believe it, I'm a real boy, I'm a real boy, and I'm alive! Oh boy. You know, honestly, this year, I just have to say, there's a part of me that feels like I look back in 2022 and all I can think about is just, what have I done? I feel like with either adaptation, the live action Disney remake or even this remake, I feel like, honestly, you know, there are going to be those people that will make so many memes out of this. They are going to bring back the Yassified Pinocchio and they're gonna go and make different remixes of like whatever Pinocchio is going to come out. Like, the funny thing is that whenever Pinocchio does come out with a brand new like trailer, or whenever Pinocchio comes back in the news, I notice in my Twitter feed that my famous tweet, that famous tweet in which I shared that little clip of the Pauly Shore Pinocchio trailer, that seems to be coming back and it's gathering even more likes and more retweets and stuff like that. So yeah, like, I don't know what it is. I either made Pinocchio a lot more blessed in 2022 or I just made things so much worse. I don't know what the fridge it is, but I caused it. Okay, let's see now. Step aside, Lionsgate and Disney. Make way for the best Pinocchio movie of the year. I always love Del Toro's movies, as well as the creepiness of them all, so this certainly has me excited. The animation and visuals are practically divine, and the story that are showing us looks very unique when compared to every other Pinocchio adaptation, especially with the part that Pinocchio might have a soul of Geppetto's dead son. I'm not just hype. I am the hype. Gosh dang, dude. You're coming in. It's like, I am the hype. I am the prime example of excitement for this Pinocchio. Okay, I think I'll read two more comments and then we're gonna move on to the grand finale. Quick tier list of Pinocchio movies that I've seen so far. Number 5, Pauly Shore's version. In one word, lame. Number 4, Roberto Bernini's version in 2020. The much preferred Roberto in the titular role than in Geppetto's shoes. Number 3, Disney's 1939 classic. You mean 1940 classic. Not the remake. Number 1 and 2 tie, Guillermo del Toro's version, which is going to be coming out soon, versus Roberto Bernini's version of 2002. Much more close to the original material, in my opinion. Damn, that's a hot take right there. Can't wait for this Del Toro gem, possibly in theaters near me. Okay, so we got one more to read. After seeing this trailer, I gotta say, screw the Disney live-action movie, I'm going for this instead. The animation looks amazing, almost like something from Laika. I really did Guillermo del Toro's works such as Pan's Labyrinth, Hellboy, and The Shape of Water. Or I really dig. Seeing got me a lot of hype. It even has an all-star cast like Ewan McGregor, Tilda Swinton, Rob Perlman, Finn Wolfhard, and Cate Blanchett. Overall, I'm definitely giving this a watch. Heck, I might watch it in this Thanksgiving. So yeah, I definitely see that the hype is definitely real, including the one comment where he is the living embodiment of hype. So if you are all excited for Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, then keep in mind it will be coming soon in theaters this November, and it will be on Netflix this December. And now, folks, it is now time that we shall go and conclude all this with the grand finale. And for this finale, I decided I'm going to do something a little bit different. In a way, it's not necessarily going to be news, although it is partly news because of what recently happened, but it's also going to be a part mini review in which I will go express my thoughts into a certain feature, or at least a draft of a feature. Because we are going to be talking about a certain subject that has been discussed from time to time, but ultimately we just have to accept the fact that it will never come to be. But we did get probably our biggest taste of what it would be, and almost as if we live in a what-if universe per se, at least for that short moment. So with that said, let's go ahead and discuss about Sony's canceled Popeye movie. And the reason why I'm bringing up the canceled Popeye movie was actually because I don't know who, I don't know why, I don't know how, but believe it or not, they uploaded the entire movie on YouTube. Yes, that was actually a thing that that actually happened. Well, okay, maybe not necessarily the entire movie. What actually happened was that, excuse me, I had to let out a bit of gas there. Don't worry, in the front, not in the back. But anyways, what happened was that there was an anonymous user who actually had an animatic of the entire Popeye movie, which is about 90 minutes long, give or take, and just decided to go and upload it on YouTube. And this was actually an animatic that was actually made back in 2013. This was even before people got their first taste of Popeye when they released the animation test back at the end of 2014. And from there, it started to get some attention in the animation community, where it was on YouTube for a few days, but then suddenly it was discovered by the community, and it was quickly shared. It was being quickly shared across social media, where people was paying attention, where they got notice to it, and we were all in shock that technically the entire Popeye movie was actually uploaded on YouTube. Now, everybody was excited to hear about this, except for Sony Pictures, where the best way that I could go and describe this is that they were pretty much being like Officer Earl, you know, like they were pretty much being like the Earl meme from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, where pretty much Sony was just at work, they were doing their thing, and then suddenly they were like, my senses indicate to me that someone uploaded something that they shouldn't. And then they quickly went online and they went, Popeye! Just running in with that delete button, and then bam! Suddenly it quickly disappeared. It just vanished into thin air. Nobody knew what happened to this elusive Popeye animatic. But it really came and went, and Sony made sure that nobody would be able to go and see that ever again. And it was something that honestly I knew, because I remember sharing that on social media, and I pretty much stated that it was either the person who uploaded this is going to become a legend in the animation community, or Sony will make sure that you will never hear from this person again. And lo and behold, it turns out that The latter turned out to be correct. We still don't know who the individual is who uploaded that 2013 animatic of Popeye, and this Popeye remake, or this Popeye movie, was never to be found. The only way that you could go and actually see it nowadays is if you can find someone who was really lucky, where at that opportunity was able to go and fully download the picture. Like, just take the YouTube link and just turn that file into its own, to turn it into its own video file so that they could go and share it around amongst their friends, but not upload it publicly like on YouTube or something, because YouTube would go and try to take you down if you, Sony would make sure that they would take you down if you go do so. And by the way, I was lucky enough to actually do that. Like, right when I first heard that someone downloaded the entire animatic of Popeye, I immediately went and downloaded it to make sure that I could have it in a file, because I knew that Sony was going to take it down one way or another. But I just want to go and make a big clarification, by the way. No, I am not going to be showing any clips here regarding the Popeye animatic. I'm not going to go and share it with you all. I'm not going to show you clips or anything like that, because Sony seems to be extremely strict about the fact that this is something that people should not actually see. It was not meant to be uploaded or anything like that. It was a complete accident that people did end up seeing what this Popeye movie would have been. Like, it was supposed to be dead and should remain dead. So that's why, honestly, I'm doing, like, even though I am going to be talking about it here, I am doing a favor for Sony Pictures. I'm like, believe it or not, I'm actually going to be nice to Sony, and I'm not going to show any clips, especially with the fact that in the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast YouTube channel, I'm already dealing with a strike, so I don't want to go and make things worse by including another copyright strike on my channel. So I just want to make that big clarification. So, with that said, though, some of you might be wondering, what is this Popeye movie about? What is it that's so special about this Popeye movie? Like, what is it that they originally wanted to do? What is it like that Genndy Tartakovsky wanted to do with this Popeye? Well, from what I've seen in this movie, and I actually did watch it just before starting this podcast, from what I saw, it's basically the origin story of Popeye. Like, it's basically this entire narrative that tells you how Popeye became the sailor man that we know him today. Like, how spinach got him, like, tremendous superpowers. How he met Olive Oil. How Bluto became his biggest rival. And how all these other characters come into this major factor. And specifically, to go into the plot, what happened is that Popeye is actually an orphan. That throughout his life, because he looked so different from all the other kids, he was never adopted. In fact, he kind of became like this 18 to 20-year-old who was who was a reject. He was never adopted because he was too different, and he felt ashamed that he was so one of a kind. But then suddenly, there's this magical jewel, the Crimson Jewel, that suddenly got into his path. That suddenly, Popeye has found the Crimson Jewel, and inside he has discovered that apparently he does have a dad, and that the reason why Popeye looks so different was actually because the villain of the film, the Sea Hag, she decided to go and cure Popeye of whatever illness that he had, but of course the Sea Hag tricked Popeye's dad into where she ended up keeping Popeye, and that his dad would be locked up. But as a twist of fate, Popeye's dad managed to kidnap his own son, like take him away from the Sea Hag and put him in a crate of spinach, and also stole the Sea Hag's ultimate source power, which is the Crimson Jewel that she used as her eye, and put them both in a crate and just like just put them off, hoping that Popeye would have a better life. And because of the powers in that jewel, that's what caused Popeye to end up getting like super strength because of the spinach. So from there, Popeye discovers that he does have a dad, and he decides to go and create a boat with the help of Jeep. So he would go on this big quest to find his dad. And then suddenly Olive Oil enters into the mix, and the adventure goes from there, where Popeye and Olive Oil has to go through all these dangerous areas and go through these massive obstacles in order to go and be reunited with his dad. And on top of that, I'll go more into this later. There is that additional moral of embracing your uniqueness that, it's more or less your typical believe in yourself. Well, not necessarily believe in yourself, but, that different, a moral about difference is good. You are one of a kind, and that's actually a good thing. Don't be ashamed of the things that makes you so different from normal people. Embrace your unique aspects. So that's the best way that I could go and summarize the Popeye movie. And if I could go and give out my opinions on the trailer itself, or not the trailer, but if I could give them my thoughts on the movie itself from what I've seen. Now, I just want to go and make one big clarification. Technically, this is just a draft of the movie, and that's it. This is not supposed, even if Sony would have made this Popeye movie, this would not have been the final film that we would end up happening. I am aware that there are some elements that they probably would have changed in the narrative. There would have been some parts in the plot line that they would have probably switched up in order to enhance it or to make the executives happy. I know that the voice acting here, it's only temporary. That's not the official cast. They would have added celebrity voices, even though there are some recognizable ones in here. Of course, you got Tom Kenny playing as Popeye, and I believe it's Grey DeLisle as Olive Oil. I could be wrong, but it does sound like her a little bit. Maybe if you know who Olive Oil is played by, let me know. But no, some people are just excited of the fact that I mentioned that it's Grey playing as Olive Oil. But so the voices, I know they're temporary. They're not the official voices. And in fact, of course, the animation, it's not supposed to be that. It's nothing more but an animatic. The most that we got in terms of what they wanted to do with the animation is with the animation test back in 2014, and that's pretty much it. So with that said, overall, with my opinion on the Popeye reboot, or not the Popeye reboot, but my thoughts on Genndy Tartakovsky's Popeye with what they wanted to do with the movie, honestly, it's all right. I don't think it's great, but I don't, it's fine as it is. There are some things that I enjoy. There are some things that I find to be meh, but overall, I feel like it's more or less okay. I just find it to be it's just, it's fine. And the reason why I say this is because, honestly, for the most part, the story, the most that I can judge on it is the story itself. That seems to be the big thing that they are presenting here. And even at that, I know that they would go and inevitably change this up in the future. But the thing is with the story, I do find that in terms of the narrative itself, it is a little bit generic. It is more of the typical quest of hey, we got to go, hey, I got this mission. I got to go and find my dad. So let's go through these let's go on this quest and face these dangerous obstacles where at the end I may actually go and find him, and that's pretty much it. I don't know, I feel like there are aspects that do feel pretty predictable of what the outcome would be, but then again, I will give it that the execution does help a little bit, especially with some of the comedy. The comedy, I feel like it is decent, it actually does help out with the experience, and there are some good jokes that I actually did enjoy. In fact, I think one of my favorite ones was there's a moment where Popeye shows Bluto the jewel, And Pluto was just mesmerized by how big the jewel is, because he actually has a little side plot in which he wants to go and marry Olive Oil. And he needs like a giant jewel to put on a ring to make it, to really make it official. But when Popeye was just explaining about the jewel, he was waving his arms, talking about the jewel and stuff like that. And throughout the whole time, you just see Pluto that's just floating around with his eyes directly on the jewel. And like, there were times like when Popeye would indirectly hit him on the ground and stuff like that. But I find that to be a really good gag. Now, there are times when it can be fun and it's actually funny. And by the way, there was actually a scene, believe it or not, where Popeye actually does legitimately cross-dress in order to get the jewel away from the Sky Pirates. That was also a pretty fun scene as well. And especially when like all the pirates are just like enthralled, where they're a lot more aroused by cross-dressing Popeye more so than Olive Oil. There are also some jokes that I do find to be meh. Like, there was one running gag that they got in regards to a fish that he would have his own, like, little annoying monologue, but then gets eaten by a pelican. Like, I feel like that one, it just happens one too many times, and even the first time they would do it is just rather meh. So yeah, honestly, not all the jokes do work, but I do find it to be generally okay. And there's also, and also another thing that I do want to mention, also speaking of the Sky Pirates, also I want to go and clarify that the animation test that you have seen is actually something that was from the movie. Like, when those pirates, like, they're trying to beat up Popeye and Olive Oil is just running around panicking and stuff like that. That scene is actually when they had to go and fight off against the Sky Pirates, or when we were first introduced to the Sky Pirates. And yes, they do share the exact same kind of concept as the Sky Pirates from Castle in the Sky, except they are a little bit more villainous in here. So with the Sky, so yeah, basically that's pretty much the closest that you will get in terms of what Popeye would have looked like in the final feature film. But that is but this is just to say that the animation test is actually in the animatic, and it's actually easy to go and recognize. And also one thing that I do want to say, and I know that this is this is often a criticism that I would express, that I know some people will just roll their eyes about, but there are some times in the animation I could tell in the animatic where it often feels a little too frantic, where one too many times it often feels like Olive Oil is mainly just there so she would be panicking and that she would go crazy with her rubber hose animation going like whoop, 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 whoop. I feel like that, honestly, I can imagine that if they would have ended up making that, it would honestly get a little bit too annoying, and it would get a little cringy, where like they're trying way too hard with the over-the-top cartoony animation. So that is honestly an element that honestly I'm not that big of a fan of. But there is one thing, if there is one good thing that I can say, like probably the best thing to come out of this animatic, like the best thing they would have nailed is actually the heart of it. Because there is one thing, like, I think that's the best thing that actually makes it pretty engaging, honestly. It's the fact that with this version of Popeye, it is very heartfelt, especially when the entire motivation for Popeye is that he wants to belong in a family, that he's going, he's looking for his dad, he wants to feel like he is loved, and he's going through this entire journey in the hopes that maybe one day he can actually go and have someone who appreciates him for who he is. And yeah, as a little cliched as that moral is of, oh, it's embrace your uniqueness. There have been way too many animated movies that have that moral. Like, as cliched as it is, it's also pretty heartfelt. So that's one good thing that I can say about the movie that they had planned, is that you could tell that there was a decent amount of heart, and even the moral that they have in there, like, it is pretty well handled, I will say. So overall, in my opinion on it is that it's honestly fine. I don't hate it. There are some things that I knew, like, I would guess that I would not really like, but there are some moments that it's pretty fine. I mean, like, if you take away the Popeye element, it would be a pretty generic animated feature, but as is, it does well with playing with the legacy of Popeye, and honestly, you know, it's not bad. I think that's the best way that I can put it. You know, it's all right. It's okay. But now with that said, there is another topic that I would like to go and discuss about, and that would be regarding the factor of its cancellation. And in my opinion, is it for the best that Sony would have canceled this Popeye movie? And after seeing it, honestly, I really don't see why. You know, like, really think, like, especially, you got to think about when this was supposed to come out, and that is around like around the 2010s, like from early to mid 2010s. And when you think about Sony Animation back then, like, honestly, this really seems no different than some of the stuff that they were putting out anyways, like Hotel Transylvania or Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs or the Smurfs. And honestly, I personally would actually prefer this Popeye more so than those other movies. So honestly, it's kind of, you know, I really don't see how is it that with this Popeye that they rather just take that away and they would be perfectly fine with all those other ones. I feel like this would have fit in the Sony animation library. Like, they were going in a direction that does feel like early Sony animation, but honestly, it's cancellation. Like, I guess it would, like, maybe it would make sense if it were the case that they're just really repeating themselves. Like, a lot of the art style, a lot of the animation style that they're doing, it's already been done so much with Hotel Transylvania and Cloudy and stuff like that. So it would just make Sony Animation look like a one-trick pony. And in that regard, that I understand. But honestly, overall with this project, like, honestly, I don't really see, you know, honestly, like, I could see, you know, honestly, I could see, I see more like why it should have been a movie more so than not. I think I'm more in favor of this movie should have been made than not. However, though, some might be wondering, though, why specifically? Do we have any legitimate information as to why they canceled this Popeye movie? Because Genndy Tartakovsky has been pretty vague about it. Well, the short answer is, apparently it looks like it was the old story of creative differences. And that was actually something that was confirmed very recently when Genndy Tartakovsky was actually doing his promo tour with talking to people about Primal Season 2. And it's actually specifically on this article on The Decider in which the person asks, what happened to the Popeye feature? And Genndy responded, reading from my source here on Decider, it states, basically, it's dead. We were so successful with it, our test and the story we'd put together. But at the end of the day, they wanted a new Popeye, and I wasn't willing to go where they had in mind. Back then, the concept was Popeye, but not Popeye. We were okay with changing his clothes, but there was a lot we wanted to stick, so that was that. God, that was 8 years ago, and I still get asked about it sometimes. It could have been good, but hey. So it looks like overall, I think we could pretty much officially state that the Popeye project is dead. And I think, honestly, with what Genndy Tartakovsky is saying, yeah, I think, honestly, like, even though I stated that with the Popeye we saw from the animatic, I would be more in support of actually making it than to just cancel it. With what Genndy is saying, yeah, maybe it's for the best to cancel Popeye if it means to avoid any executive meddling. Because you gotta keep in mind of that time period of Sony Pictures Animation. Again, with Hotel Transylvania, with Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and with the Smurfs. Back then, Sony was really leaning on trying to be hip and trendy. Like, to try to be so modern so that the audience at the time could go and immediately relate with all the pop songs that they would go and play, with the attitude that the characters have, try to make them look cool, try to make them look like they have swag and stuff like that. You know, and all that kind of stuff. And maybe that's not necessarily the main reason, but it wouldn't be hard to imagine that Sony at the time wanted to turn Popeye into Johnny from Hotel Transylvania. And that is a direction I think nobody would really want. And it probably would be for the best to go and avoid that if Sony ended up making this feel dated more so than to actually have this be like a timeless feature of their own, because that's also a major drawback with with a lot of the early Sony animation films, is that, well, they feel pretty dated, that they try to enforce so much of like modern trends at the time, modern pop song musics, rather it be like Walk This Way with the Smurfs as they go around like FAO Schwartz, or Hotel Transylvania when they would play Sexy and I Know It during a montage. Like, I think, honestly, like, it's probably for the best that we don't have, like, a cool and hip Popeye. So, yeah, honestly, I don't blame Genndy Tartakovsky to let the project go if it means to protect the legacy of Popeye. So yeah, honestly, this was just something that I wanted to go and talk about because, honestly, considering that this is the closest thing we will ever get to actually having that Popeye movie. And honestly, what I'm doing right now is probably the best way to go and discuss it, because technically we're not showing any clips of it whatsoever. But I will say, like right now, it feels like a very intriguing piece of animation memorabilia, or a piece of animation digital memorabilia, that we have witnessed something that shouldn't have been seen. And it's one of the most talked about canceled animation projects where to this day, people are still very much sour of the fact that Sony did cancel Popeye. But still, though, it was an interesting look. Definitely not among the best things that Sony Animation has put out. I mean, I still prefer like some of their better movies like Surf's Up or Spider-Verse or Mitchell's or Vivo. But still, honestly, it was interesting. I will say it definitely was an interesting experience. All right, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I'm going to ask you all, what did you think about the canceled Popeye and what some people have actually seen from the animatic? Especially if you have seen that animatic of Popeye, let me know what you think about it. Let's see now. I was actually one of the few people who actually watched the full Popeye animatic online, and I gotta say, it was pretty good. Not great, but still fun and good regardless. The jokes are hit and miss, and the story is rather heartwarming, though for the most part, it's pretty enjoyable. I especially love the voice acting from Tom Kenny and Grey DeLisle. Got nothing much to say, but it's that we got the entire movie leaked, even though it got taken down very quickly. Thanks a lot, Sony. Well, I mean, it's understandable. Yeah, like, some people are upset that Sony did that, but I mean, we know why. It's not something that we should be seeing. So, I mean, honestly, I don't blame people for being upset for what Sony did, but I don't blame Sony for what they did either. Let's see what else we have here. This might be a hot take, but it's probably for the best that the Popeye movie by this is probably for the best that the Popeye movie by Genndy Tartakovsky, but the fact that there was a legit animatic release online was honestly quite a surprise to me. After watching the animatic myself, yeah, it was kind of boring to me. I apologize. I've only seen a couple of Popeye cartoons as a 5-year-old boy and has made a little impact in my life, so I feel like it would have been like Sony's Scoob in terms of rebooting old cartoon characters. Honestly, I wouldn't go that far. Like, personally, I would take the Popeye animatic over what Warner Brothers did with Scoob, but honestly, I can understand that. It's not really for everyone, and I can see how for some people it would be a boring movie, because like I said, if you take away the Popeye elements out of it, it would have been just a very generic animated feature, and a forgettable one at that too. Let's see. I'm pretty shocked hearing about this news. I remember there was a video that ValskyBum94 made about the canceled Popeye movie. I feel bad for Genndy Tartakovsky's rejection from Sony, because it would be a fitting movie for Sony Animation Studios. As someone in the chat was named Akarin for Press put it, of the Genndy Tartakovsky canceled Popeye movie in the Internet Archives, but is it okay to watch it? Because what would Sony think of me watching this? This looks like a great discovery. Well, I think honestly, I think Sony would just be upset if you would go and upload it. If you put it up in a platform where everybody would go and see it, that's where they get upset. But I mean, Sony would be pissed, like, if you would watch it, but there's really nothing that you can do. It was leaked online, and they know that there are people who are privately sharing it around with their friends. So I mean, they can Sony can only do what they could control. So I don't know, like, you still can. Let's see what else we have here. I didn't know that Sony's canceled Popeye movie was leaked. Whoever this person is, it was either a former employee at Sony or maybe a hacker that probably hacked their files that did this before Sony took it down. I have not seen the leaked movie yet now that I downloaded according to people, but I'll check it out soon. Would this movie be made with the final completion? Possibly, as it could have been a hit amongst Sony's lineup. But this is for the best to have the film to rest. Yeah, exactly. I think like the best thing that you can do right now is just accept the fact that Sony Animation is never going to make a Popeye movie, especially not in the vision of Genndy Tartakovsky, so it's probably best to just move on. Let's see, another comment we would have. Let me see here. Do we have any other comments? I'll probably just read one more. I am saddened over the fact that Sony Pictures Animation canceled the Popeye movie in 2015 after new management came in after the Sony hack. Actually, just to have a bit of a correction, apparently the Popeye movie was actually canceled before the Sony hack actually happened. It was not long after the release of the animation test, and the executives were just not liking what they were watching. So just to make a big clarification. I hope King Features would make a 2D animated Popeye movie. Luckily, some people downloaded the animatic before being removed on YouTube. Exactly, and I believe with that said, that should do it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And I just want to say thank you all so much for joining me on this episode, and please do not forget that if you guys would like to go and watch these live shows without any interruption from ads, then all you have to do is go and subscribe to my Twitch. At the same time, please don't forget to go and follow me on your podcast service, rather it be on Apple, on Google, or on Spotify, or whatever. And don't forget to subscribe to the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast YouTube channel. So with all that said and done, join me next week on more crazy stories to cover on AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.